The HMCS Fredericton from Halifax, Nova Scotia, beginning her performance by firing her saluting guns, which are ceremonial guns, again located on the end of the ship.
Alright, top forward, 57mm gun. 57mm gun fires 220 rounds a minute, 9-mile range. It has 5 different types of rounds that it can fire out, from practice rounds to air burst runs, and for surface ships as well.
Attention on the upper deck, space starboard time.
This is Oscar. Oscar is the most hated and most loved member of the crew. Because falling over the side is a big threat in the Navy, we practice man overboards all the time. As soon as the ship leaves harbor, your first exercise is a man overboard. So what they'll do is they'll throw Oscar in the water. You have 5 minutes from the time the alarm is sounded to the time the man is out of the water into the boat. Chaff rockets are self-defense weapons. What it does is it sends out what amounts to a big ball of tin foil. So as we have the missiles coming inbound, it can send out a cloud, and that cloud will either distract the enemy or the radar from the missile away from the ship, or it'll seduce the radar into thinking that that big metal cloud that's out there is its target, and it will detonate when it hits the cloud. That way it gets it away from the ship. Chaff rocket or shield. We have 6 50 caliber machine gun mounts, 2 on each side. Same as on top part ship, on each side. Harpoon missiles and surface to surface. 70-75 mile range. We like to reach out and touch the enemy. We don't like getting too close. So we have a rigid hull inflatable boat. Like I said, it's a workhorse of the Navy. The boat can be used for many different reasons. The main one is carrying the boarding party. And the boarding party, if you don't know, is like the naval equivalent to a SWAT team. So the boarding party, they'll take them over in this, take the first 10 over, they'll board, secure the ship, then it'll come back, get the next 10 to bring them over, and that'll be the search party. The boarding party is doing made up to around 20 people.
This is a C8, it's a military rifle, 30 rounds magazine. Put the magazine here. Target, that's ready to go. This is the MP5, that's the sub-rifle. Most of the members of the boarding party will wear one. This is 30 round magazine. Target, not really cool. Once your magazine empty, take another one. Put another one. Already ready. All members of the boarding party will wear a 6 hour, so 9mm pistol, 8 rounds.
One basic shot.
Yeah, this is the
C7.
This is the C7, it's the standard military rifle for Air Force, Navy, Army using the same one. Same thing of the C8, but longer. 30 round magazine.
30 round magazines.
Target. Ready.
Capability of safety, individual shot, fully automatic.
Remington 870 shotgun. We only use this one for security, entering and exit.
Yeah, this one, as well as the MP5, are the
5 rounds?
general weapons that we carry most often. Everybody who comes equipped in 6 hour guard gets a secondary weapon in case we run out of rounds. And that's good to go. Instantly drop the main weapon, fly off quick shots, get our partner to cover us while we reload.
C9, we only use this weapon for support. 100 magazine. Open the cover, you put your rounds, close it.
Not good with the weights. I mean, with our kit, once I put on this hat, the vest,
C7? It's not really heavy.
as well as my med bag, I'm looking at.
It's not really heavy, probably about 5 pounds. You got a 30-round magazine that goes in there.
On the bridge we have different positions, different stations. Back here is the bowsmate position. The bowsmate is all the announcements you've been hearing throughout the ship and on the loudspeakers. At sea, this is where that guy sits. And he does all the announcements, the alarms and everything from back here. When we're alongside, that position is back on the flight deck and he has a shack out back there where he does it from. Most important part of the bridge is the trade that we call the superheroes of the Navy. Naval communicators.
So this is where our naval communicators sit. So these are the people that are able to talk with people on shore and in other vessels. And so there's people here when we're at sea. There are people sitting in these chairs 24/7, all day, all night. And it's very important that they be able to communicate with all the other vessels around, and also to communicate with different messages with our headquarters and whatnot. This one here is an echo sounder, so this one shows the depth of the water that we're sailing under. So there's a beam sent down, a sonar beam, and it bounces back, and it tells us just how deep the water is. This here, all charts are now electronic that we use. There was a time when these were all paper-based, of course, and the officers that navigate the ship still are trained with paper, but with GPS and whatnot, they're able to use these electronic ones. This here is the chart table when they do use the paper ones, so they'll just use this table here. This one here gives you a picture of what's going on around the ship in all directions. So we have radar systems and sonar systems that are able to pick up contacts all around us, all around the ship. This is where we actually steer the ship. You don't have the big wooden wheel that you used to have in the old days. This is just this little steering wheel here, and this is your throttle over to the right. So the speed of the ship and the direction are all done from here. This is our operations room. This is where you fight the ship. This is where all the weapon systems are fired from, and this is where we get our picture, a picture of what's going on around the ship, underneath the water, on the surface, and up on top, up in the sky. So aircraft, ships, and submarines, essentially. In this corner over here, these are the people that look at the basically incoming airplanes. They're naval electronic sensor operators. Up in the front row, we have naval combat information officers. And then on the other side of the room, way over here, that's all the sonar. So that's all underwater. So that's how that's all divided up. And all of that information is fed into this row here. And these are the operation room directors. And they are the ones who have control of the operations room, and they're the ones who control the weapon systems. They assimilate all the various information that's going on for the commanding officer. In the Navy, we're very proud of different things that we've been involved with as a ship. So you find a lot of photographs, historic photographs, and awards displayed through the ship. So this is the hospital on board. We are able to perform a number of medical, I won't say operations, but procedures exactly, which comes in very handy because of course there's a lot of risks being at sea, especially rough seas, you know, people can get hurt and sick, but we have medics on board, and they're able to take good care of us. In the event that there was a severe injury, of course, we would use our helicopter to do a medical evacuation to get the person ashore to a full facility. But they're able to do a remarkable amount of good work here with what they have. We have exercise equipment wherever there's room for it. Throughout the ship, you'll see the odd exercise bike. We have a weight room as well down in the after part of the ship, because it's important when you're away at sea to be able to get some physical activity in. The ship is divided into many different departments. They all come together as a team. Every sailor is a firefighter. We're all trained in firefighting. And so you'll see when you go throughout the ship that just about in every passageway, every space, there's some evidence of firefighting equipment. We have full oxygen tanks for firefighters. And then we also have what are called CAMOX systems, so that every person on board, if required to, could suit up and put out a fire. Tanks. Depending on the type of fire you're dealing with, sometimes you will add foam, sometimes you won't. Whenever you find an open space in the ship like this, that acts as well as an emergency, a place where people will be brought in the case of an emergency. If there was a damage control, or if you were in a battle, and if there were casualties, they would be brought to this location for first aid, because there's just room to work. And as well, you see all of the firefighting gear that we have. We do have some sailors that are primarily firefighters, that is their primary job, and then most sailors have firefighting as a secondary job. And these here are used for damage control. If there was ever a breach in the hull and water was coming in, rushing in, these are used to go over that crack, tighten up, and try to seal it to stop the water from rushing in. I know, no, it's okay.
So this is a typical room that the sailors will sleep in. There are 6 bunks, and each person's got a bunk, and then they also each have a locker that are put in throughout the room. So you can see nobody's in here right now. We don't spend a lot of time in these rooms because everybody's working usually when they're on the ship. And when we're sailing, people do shift work, and half the time there's usually somebody sleeping in here, and others working, and they trade off. So as you can see, it's pretty tight.
So this is the quarter deck of the ship. This is the very aft end. You see the Canadian flag that's raised every morning at 8 o'clock, and then it's brought down in a ceremony during at sunset, and of course that changes a little bit every day. You also see our life rafts in the back, those two containers. There are enough life rafts for everyone on board. Inside there are rations. And the life raft is covered as well to protect sailors from the elements. And these are they're covered up, but we have ceremonial guns that we have on board, of course, because this is a public relations and an outreach sort of mission that we've been saluting all of the ports that we come alongside at. So yesterday when we came alongside Toronto, we fired our saluting guns just to salute the city that we were coming to visit. So once the helicopter lands on the flight deck, the propellers are all twisted back, and the helicopter is able to be brought right in here so that it's out of the elements and safe. When it's in here, there's not very much room to move, but it can certainly fit in one helicopter.